Hey everyone, this video is titled Never Put Trust in Man. And I want to talk about a situation, I found myself in, or a conversation I was having. A couple weeks ago, I was talking with a friend, and they said, I don't trust people, and I thought for a moment, and I responded, good. And while you're at it, don't trust yourself neither. And I don't think they quite understood what I was saying, but the conversation has sparked interest in my mind because, as people, we often talk about trust, but we rarely, talk about seeking trust in the living God. And I think at some point we all have thought or said, I don't trust them. And I agree that we shouldn't. I cannot think of any reason why we should put our trust in man. Because with our fallen nature, sometimes the things we do and say can be unpredictable. And only God is worthy to obtain and secure our trust. So my first point is to not rely on man. Micah chapter 7, verse 5, NIV. Do not trust in your neighbor. Put no confidence in a friend. Even with her who lies in your embrace, be careful of your words. So that's saying, don't trust man. Even your own wife, even your husband, don't trust them. With our fallen nature. And two, don't trust the world. First Timothy chapter 6, verse 17, NIV. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up for treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Don't put your trust in the world. Put your trust in your job, things of the world. The world doesn't know you anything. And I mean, pretty much the only thing that's constant in life is change. You have no idea the things that are changed, in this world. And three, instead, rely on God. Rely on God. Psalm chapter 18, verse 30, NIV. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He's a shield for all who take refuge in him. If you put your trust in God, God will take care of you. He will handle the rest. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7, NIV. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when he comes, its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit. So that says it all. Put your trust, put your hope in God, and he'll take care of you during storms, during droughts, when things, appear to not have, could be not be any worse, even when things, appear to be great, God is right there. He's there. He will make your leaves green. He will make sure that you're planted and you will not move. This is why we should put our trust in God. So okay, I'll share a personal story. About 3 years ago, I was having a difficult time with something. I was very indecisive about what my next move should be, and I was pretty much unsure if I even had an answer. So I decided to talk with a friend, and I use that term very loosely. But we had been quote unquote friends since elementary school. So it's not like the perfect person to talk with, right? Wrong. So I talked with her, about my dilemma, mostly because I was tired, of keeping it a secret, and I just wanted, to get it off my chest, and I was hoping to receive some kind of word of wisdom. And I wasn't saved at the time, so talking to God about my situation was the last thing, on my mind. So this friend, you know, as a, as we talked, she began to reassure me that what we discussed, would never be mentioned to anyone else. And we all know that when a person says that they won't tell, they're already plotting to tell. So I had to learn that the hard way. Initially when she made the statement about trusting her, I began to have thoughts about, her broadcasting, our conversation. I thought, why would she do that? After all of these years of us being friends, I mean, she has to have some kind of loyalty to me, And I mean, it's a blessing. It is truly a blessing to no longer be as gullible and over trustful as I was then. So a couple of months later, my closest friend from home called me, informing me that she ran into a guy who we all had gone to middle school with, and that he drilled her with a bunch of questions regarding the conversation, I had about, my best kept secret. So my heart sank, because then, when I gathered myself, I realized I had then opened a new can of worms because my closest friend didn't even know the situation I had gone through. So, with the four of us, myself, my close friend from home, and the friend that I tried to confide in, and a guy that we had gone to school with, I began to question, if I hadn't seen this guy since the eighth grade, and by the age of 18, he was asking questions. I began to think, who else knew? I mean, because he certainly didn't have any loyalty to me. Well, it was apparent that neither of them did. So, I was expecting him to share what he knew with others. So my next thought was kind of like, okay, I'm 12 hours from home, and 12 I'm 12 hours away, and people know about my best kept secret. 12 hours away, and I'm not even there. So it was almost safe to assume, that my old clique knew, and I couldn't be upset because you know what? I put my trust in her. And that's my mistake. Should I have been surprised? No. But was I? Sadly. So like I mentioned before, the actions of humans are unpredictable. Or maybe they are predictable. Predictable in the sense that we can predict that nothing naturally good comes from us. It is our natural nature. As mentioned in Psalm chapter 58, verse 3, NIV, even from the birth the wicked go astray. From the womb they are wayward, spreading lies. We must keep in mind the individuals we're dealing with, including ourselves. I will make it clear, I do not trust myself apart from the Holy Spirit. I don't. I do not trust myself apart from the Holy Spirit, because without the Holy Spirit, it is impossible for man to rise above, what he is by nature. So, this is why each of us must remain fervent in prayer with hope that all that we do and say is pleasing to God. Because as long as we seek advice from man, we will be, I will be troubled in each and every situation, each and every time. Who should I have trusted? God. I know sometimes it may seem easier to pick up the phone and call a friend. Call your best friend, pick up the phone, text them. They're only just a call and text away, an email away. But the next time you feel yourself beginning to contact someone on earth, gather yourself and examine whether or not you're going to the source of all supply, our Father. He is the only one who can give us accurate advice and answer the questions that seem too advanced for our carnal minds. So the story I shared is probably similar to what a lot of us have experienced at some point or another, as we just grow and mature. It's a part of life. But, it's situations like this, that leaves us feeling without hope or help, or hope of recovery, because I thought there was nothing I could do to make things better. I mean, when you find yourself in a situation that you didn't have planned out, it feels like the end of the world. And instead of expecting my quote unquote friend not to mention what I had shared with her, I should have expected that she would. I mean, what would have stopped her? If someone isn't saved and they're not being led by the Holy Spirit, if one is not loyal to the Lord, it is unthinkable for them to be loyal to others. I try to consult with the Lord about everything. I'll be honest, I still catch myself, wanting to call that one friend, but in all actuality, if he or she still hasn't received a divine word from God, there is nothing that they can tell me that I couldn't figure out with my own mind. We need to check with God first. And God may lead us to talk with someone else who he approves of. I sometimes whisper to God, about how I feel, and almost instantly, the areas that were gray suddenly become as clear as identifying black and white. I mean, God, God is definitely my best friend. And, I'm sure we can all think of numerous occasions when we have been disappointed and let down. But it doesn't matter, the individual, whether it be, mother, father, sister, brother, or even someone, as distant as a stranger. It is unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate when we find ourselves in a position when we feel cheated or betrayed. However, I personally found comfort in the fact that my disappointment was a result of my own doing. All I had to do was put my trust in the Lord. Even the things we ask help or favor for, we must trust God to do them. Not that they will be done when, where, and how we expect them to be done, but that they will be done nonetheless. A husband or wife shouldn't rely on their spouse to maintain, their financial stability and to make sure all their bills are paid. God is the one who gives the gift of wealth. Why should we put all of our trust in the best physicians? God is the one who heals all sicknesses and diseases, as stated in Psalm chapter 103, verse 2. Why do we put all of our trust in teachers to make our children, to make sure our children receive the best education, when the Holy Spirit is our teacher? I'm not trying to say that investing in good health care and education are important, but I'm definitely, saying that we can't stop there. We must recognize God as being supreme. Expectations concerning man is one of the most faulty forms of thinking I have experienced thus far. Why are we usually disappointed and sad? Because we had expectations that we expected man to fulfill. The Lord will never let us down. So the gap has to be on our part. We sometimes fail to realize that humans are all imperfect, and thus, we cannot be held to a position only ordained by and for God, who can fulfill our needs. Who can make a way out of no way. Who can we count on when our paths, appear rugged and the situations we find ourselves in are even more strenuous. Who can we trust to share, all of our private information with and rest assured that they won't gossip behind our backs? Who can we trust to share to share with us love that surpasses our understanding? No one other than our Father, who earnestly watches over His sheep. As stated in Psalm chapter 23. So these are the things that we must focus on, and always remember that we have to yield ourselves and take heed to the Lord, and put trust in Him. Put all of your hope, all your trust in God, and even my mother in Christ once said to me, she doesn't, necessarily trust her husband, but rather she trusts God to keep her husband in alignment with Him, God, so that the way he treats her is only a reflection of that. So if I were to ever get married one day, my trust wouldn't be all in my husband, that he wouldn't commit an adultery and that he wouldn't, be of the world. But I would trust God and be so hidden in God that I would believe and know that God has me covered, that God's going to make sure that hurt, harm, and danger won't come my way. So even with school, I'm not going to put my trust in my college or in my teachers or even the courses that I'm taking, or even my own mind, or even my own studying habits, because God, he works differently than we do. His ways and His thoughts aren't like ours. So I put trust in God, not that I'll have a career, that I've always dreamed of, or that my parents have always dreamed for me to have, but that, God has the best plan for my life, to trust Him and to give that to Him, that His will be done perfectly, decently, and in order. So, when you find yourself putting your trust in man to prevent yourself from heartache, from being disappointed, from being let down, and from being on the path that you shouldn't be, seek God, ask God, tell God, your will be done, Lord. Just trust Him that He will take care of your needs, because if He takes care of the animals, and we that He makes sure that they go they don't go wanting for anything, and we mean so much more to Him. So why wouldn't He do those things for us? So seek God, trust God, put all of your hope in Him, and not a man, because He's the source. He's the one who has all the answers. I don't, you don't, no one does. So the energy that we put in each other, and we ask others to make promises. You promise you'll do it. Only God is the promise keeper. We all have made promises at some point, but only God is the promise keeper. To do things that are best for us. So like I said, just trust God and never put your trust in man.